Anytime your mother doesn't have room for it, I have a big bag and I'll take it.
It's a good night for a sauna, don't you think?
Thank you for saying it the right way.
Eric's gonna make.
The only place you can get a sauna is at the Holiday Inn. That's a sauna.
I still don't understand the difference. The sauna is one steam.
Sauna is a lot more steam.
Sauna.
Yeah.
Sauna.
Sauna.
S-A-W-N-A.
Sauna. There's a little bit of a T right after the S. Sauna.
They're like everybody.
You gotta channel your inner Finlander.
I made a horse pot. You got their hair pot. Have you ever
So,
when we did the raccoon firing
for these handles,
years ago.
I get started this way. And I don't pull my handles off the cup.
And then I did.
It's never worked well for me. I've never liked the way they look. So I do
And so basically
almost all the work before it goes on. So we'll draw down
So I talked to Chad about how
a little bit, and I just keep rotating for evenness. And when I get it to as long as I think I need, I'll go from milking the udder, I guess. It's like milking a cow. To smashing it into more of a strap type situation. So that happens in between fingers. Use sort of quick gestures. You know, the slower you try to go, the more likely you are to create little thick and thin spots. So quick little pulls are the best. And then as I'm doing that, I'll switch directions, but I'm not just doing it in between my fingers like this. I'm also wrapping my middle finger around the back side. So as I pull, I can control the width of that strap, right? If you just keep your fingers stiff, a lot of times that strap will get way too wide or wider than you want it to. So the middle finger controls the width, and it also can help you give it taper, right? So as I pull down, I'm squeezing in with my finger each time. And then it's a really fine line between too thin and too thick, and I'm not sure how to tell you where that line is.
like 14.
And then what I do is clean table, and then I'll lay that down
It's gonna be like, let's make birds again. Do you remember that? How are your birds?
and cut it off so there's quite a bit of thickness left there. And I've got 5 cups, so I'll pull 5 handles or even maybe 6. I usually give myself an extra. And then, so part of the reason for making them all at the same time is by the time I make all 5, that first one is, the surface has dried a bit, and it's maybe stiffened some. But I found it sort of difficult to go straight from pulling onto the cup. So if you've only got one, I would give it some time to set up. 10 minutes maybe. And
Didn't really think so much about it. Just thought, that would be fun in the garden. Big garden.
So what about pictures?
pictures, I make the handles the same way, but I keep it much bigger. Yep. Yeah, I don't bring it down nearly as narrow.
Just cut them from the slant.
You have a lot of time that you need to spend on softening all those edges those cut edges. right? If I were to take my knife and slice down the sides of this, those 90-degree corners would be rather sharp on the fingers, not soft.
Have it be like your spaces.
Well, yeah, sure, you can do that, but I'm just saying it's a lot more time. Yeah. Now, if time isn't an issue for you, that's fine. Do it that way. Sorry?
Oh,
I thought this way is more, takes more time.
Okay.
No, I'm just asking, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Not when you've got 50 cups to do.
I think like a 4x4.
It depends on how accurate you are, or how efficient you are at it.
I just thought, wow, wouldn't it
You know, now if I
That's as far as the-
had hand-built cups, I probably would hand-build the handle, so there was an aesthetic that matched the cup
Make it
itself.
style.
Yeah.
A bunch of different colors. Yeah. Still, you will by the end. Or you'll give up. I finally painted the cats. They went into the kiln. They went into the kiln, so. The kitty bird houses are in the kiln.
So we'll get it started. You know, and then if you at all, as you're pulling, you know, if you create a little thin spot, don't be afraid to just click it off and get rid of it. You'll fight that thin spot the whole time. Use plenty of water. One more. I got my little cup there, so make a little handle. So again, it's about using that web in between your fingers, and then that middle finger wraps around. That can become a body for a gnome if you like.
I got something for you to do.
Huh?
I've got something for you to do.
Clean your hands off. Clean the knife off. And then pick a candidate. First handle looks like it'll go well on there. I rarely trim any of my production cups. This is really all I do. Indent that bottom. I've got a little high bounce pinky, right? You can get them at Walmart. Super Ball. It's about that big around. Beautiful for making that little indent. And I think some pottery places are actually making a ball on a stick that you can buy for ungodly amounts of money. There. Roll that edge up some. So the one thing that this does, especially for porcelain pieces, if you roll that edge up, it's riding on a part of the bottom that isn't all the way out on the edge, right? And so you're a lot less likely to get chips or little splits as it expands and contracts, right? Here, it would be sitting right on that outer edge, and it'd be a lot more likely to split. And even more likely if that hadn't been rounded off at all. Ah, the high bones pinky.
So would that help Mitzi's pieces?
That's who I'm referencing.
Okay. Okay, we need to tell Mitzi. I'll tell her.
Yeah, you better tell
Yeah,
her.
I'll tell her. So that's that little
It's
bit of
it's a
angle.
weight issue too.
Yeah, well, her,
I mean,
yeah.
they're very, very heavy, and having that edge come all the way out square and flat,
Yeah.
it's
Well, but she could see what she's doing, and she's throwing so much weight. She's not trimming it, but she
She's
could
not.
come back and do that.
she could.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she could.
Because
Yeah.
her lips are too
Yeah.
fragile.
Yeah,
She doesn't wanna do
that
that.
would help tremendously.
Super sweet.
Okay. I prefer to do my scoring for cups anyway with a toothed rib, and I'll pick a point that I know my handle's going to come off the cup and kind of curve up first and then come down in the shape of a D, right? So I'll pick a point low enough where I'll be sure that that curve doesn't come up past the top of the cup. Part of that is I'll dry it upside down, and I don't want to distort the shape of my handle. The other part is if your hand is above the lip of the cup, it hits your face before the cup gets to your lips, right? So,
So give that one to the person you don't like.
yeah. I've gotten used to knowing about how big I need my scoring area to be, and I think that's just,
Sounds big.
you need to get used to how you do them, so there's that. Oh, here's my slip. We do have the white stoneware and the porcelain as dry powder, so if you want to make slip that's going to match your clay body perfectly, I can hook you up with some of either the 182 or the 205, which would be the porcelain. This is the white stone. I don't think we have any of the regular dark stoneware dry, but the buckets over there produce slip that's really close. So just mix this up. Well, this is some slip that I'm going to use for attaching. So it's going to sort of hydrate the cup and hydrate the handle and keep that joint wet enough while the whole thing kind of equalizes.
Right, so you wouldn't want to use clay with water and then
You could take some of your clay off here and some water and mix, but you're going to be mixing much longer. This I can get to into a yogurt state fairly quick, where I'd really have to work that a lot to make it into a slip.
No, I thought vinegar as the attachment. versus what?
Yeah, some people do, and I used to put vinegar into my joining slip. It seems to make a difference. I don't know. The biggest thing is just drying them slow. But vinegar can help. It can help, yeah. It's not a bad idea. So yogurt is what I'm looking for when I'm making my joining slip. There we go. And then I'll touch it into the cup. A little bit down at the bottom. Get that set up right in front of me there, and then I'll come over here to my handle, and I take my dry edge of my hand here and chop that down, and that causes that top to flare out even more. I cut some of it off, but I like that extra flare at the top. And then just using your two fingers together, you can get a nice little razor back for design. One thing I don't do is extend that razor back all the way down to the bottom of the handle because I don't like the way it feels on the back of my finger when I'm holding the cup. And just soften those edges down. You don't want to leave them real sharp. And then with the knife, I'll tilt the handle back towards my body a little bit because of the angle this is going to come off of the cup at. It's going to come off at an upward angle. And then definitely cutting a curve into it. And then this is the magic of it all. Getting it onto the cup without touching it hardly at all, right? So definitely not touching the top surface. So lift it up carefully, lay it in your hand, and then leave the tip sticking out past your fingertips so you can get your thumb behind like this. Approach with intent.
Have to have one leg in front of the other.
You will be attached. Grab the cup from the inside with your fingertips, and then make sure you're centered. Because your fingers are dry, your thumb is dry, and the back side of the handle is dry, you can push with a fair amount of force to get it attached. And then I'll just kind of go over it, do some smoothing, come across the bottom side, and then from there I'll pick up the handle, or pick up the cup and let it dangle, right? And then as I bend it over, I'm just watching that inside profile, right? So if I were to attach it here, that handle sticks out a long ways from the cup, and that gets heavy on the wrist. And so if you can keep pulling it down until it tightens up to the cup a little bit, you want to leave enough room for your fingers in there. Probably come down even a little bit more there. And then I push a little bit to attach it, and then maybe pull that bottom part out just a little bit so it's not straight. And then from here it's about making a mess on the floor. And then with the soft bristle brush, I'll go underneath that tail, back and forth, and that rounds the tail off. And it also kind of lifts it just a little bit if you try to get underneath it. And then up here at the top, I'll brush the back side of the handle, further compressing it into my score marks. And then what I do is take those bristles and come up on the edge, and as I come down onto the cup there, I'll push rather hard and attach that side, right? So up from the side and then push, and that will adhere it really well. And then just a little, get rid of that little slip ooze at the top.
Nice.
And then definitely dry them upside down, get them covered up, and that'll give the handle time to catch up with the cup, and the cup sort of, you want to get that equalized, the wet handle versus the leather cup. If you don't have a toothed rib, the needle tool works great for scoring, but it's rather specific for me in how you do that. Little lines are okay, if you make little X's, but for me, what I would do and what I usually do when I'm scoring with the needle tool is I draw circles, little circles. You can see how fluffy it gets, and that's really ideal. If you were concerned that your cup was maybe too dry for a handle, I wouldn't use the tooth rib because it's not going to score it enough. Would go in with the needle tool and really get in there this is another option too. These little fingered deals. And I've tried these and they don't do quite enough for me. I'm not convinced. But this, again, if it's dry, if you think it's too dry, really fluffing it up, and then take a little water and just carefully squeeze it into there before you put the slip on, and that'll rehydrate that whole area a little bit more, giving you a better chance for success. Do that.
There you go.
You know, if there's still flexibility in the lip when you squeeze it, you're fine for using a tooth rib. The other, instead of the Razorback, the other thing I've done is the trough. Again, just keeping it at the top of the handle, not trying to extend it down past the
Are you
bottom.
using your thumb or?
Thumb, yep. So there it is. Doesn't hurt to pre-bend a little bit. So when you start, after you get it, the initial attachment with that dry thumb, you will pick up some of that slip, and that'll help slide your thumb across as you're trying to get that bottom nice and even. And just looking at that inside shape. Rock my thumb back and forth across there a little bit. Cut the tail. Again, back and forth and concentrating on staying underneath that tail. Give you a little bit more definition. And then push, push. If the bottom is really sagging down on you like that, just grab the top and lift it. That'll pull it back up into shape a little bit. Upside down will help keep it in shape as well. If you leave them like this, sometimes that weight of that will start tearing on it and pulling it down. One other thing I do to decorate the handle is to you can take some sort of straight situation. Just a little bit more something else, right? That's really about it, you know, like the edge of these tools can work pretty nice. As another option. But that's like the only way I make handles. There's tons of other ways that include cutting them from slabs, stretching them out, using a little coil, I can show you some of those things if you want to see them. I don't know how long you guys want to sit here staring at me.
I was gonna say, if you need a slab, there's a slab.
We feel productive staring at you.
But usually, like using this method, I can usually get about 50 handles in 5-6 hours. You know, not going too crazy with it. I have done 100 handles this way in a day, and it's too much.
How many do you do?
But I do batches of 12. Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be a good number. If it's too dry, like in the middle of the winter when the humidity is so low, maybe 6 is a better idea. Because if the handle dries out too much, I've had them where they like to split like right where that bend is happening. And in that case, I'll put a little water in between that split, knit it back together with a needle tool, and then re-smooth it, and they usually stay. One other thing you can do with these is to add a coil after it's all said and done, if you want that connection to be a little thicker. So like up here, I have done them where I'll just get this connected. Take and do a little extra scoring across the top there. If you don't like the way that looks just quite right, just take a little piece of clay and roll out a micro coil. And then flatten it on just kind of making it into a triangle type shape so it slides into that zone a little more. Slip, so that little bit of a triangular shape, right? Stick that in there, break it off where it comes in contact with the cup. And Teresa's got these tools here ready for me. Take a small dowel and push it into place, and if you roll that dowel back and forth, it will kind of start to make it look seamless. Right? Just a little bit of extra smoothing. And you can make it look like you pulled the handle off of the cup. Or if you want it to have that real sturdy look. And it does make it technically sturdier.
Now, would you just leave that like that, or would you go back and cut lines into the coil?
I don't know. It would depend. Probably come back and add some little lines just by touching it. Depends on who it's for.
If you like them, how much you like them.
That's right. So that kind of, it changes it a bit from what that is.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I always had my hands.
Did you
full
intend
most
not
of
to
the
finish
time.
the bottom of that handle?
No, I missed that, didn't I? See what happens to your handle when you...
Actually,
Perfect. By the way, really flexing your lip around like that at leather hard is a dangerous thing to do. It tends to, you tend to get little cracks that you don't want, that you won't see until after it's fired.
Here's a couple.
Give that one to somebody you really don't like.
You have to be willing to do that. You know, you just have to.
Do the bottom before you. Okay.
I did these two already because they were already dry. These are quite a bit stiffer, and so for sure in this situation I'll try to really fluff. I just realized what I said. In this day and age, it's okay for guys to fluff.
It's called zhuzhing.
Zhoosh.
Thanks, Chad, that's
I hope.
What, throwing that cup?
all of it.
I mean, it's one other way of doing it. I can pull them off the handle. I never like the way it turns out.
I think I was touching them too much. You know, you can really touch them way too. I think that using the brush is a great idea.
Yeah, I learned that from Kramer.
Really?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Because in the past, I always used a sponge. Because it made sense. You know, like,
Yeah.
oh, you clean up stuff with the sponge. That's what you do.
But you fight yourself because you alter it too much.
Right. So when I'm doing bunches of them, I have a specific brush I like for
That's nice.
doing my finishing, and a specific brush I like for putting slip on.
Not that he's obsessive compulsive about anything.
No, and they've got it when I line them up on the board. You know, the handles all have to be facing the same way, and then the next row, the handles fit in between. It's really technical. Debbie is not an organizer. It drives me nuts how they're sometimes don't record this part.
We're gonna email her the link right away.
She knows how I feel. Like, I'll find the measuring cups in a different drawer, you know, or like the extra toothpaste isn't always in the same place.
Well, she had to put it down and go chase short people.
Well, and that's the short people change things around a lot.
That's part of it too.
Yeah.
Whoa. They move things.
I do know that Debbie's come from a long line of, whatever. Not in the Hartwig household.
Opposites attract, man.
That's right. If she was too much like me, oh boy, I'd have to hate her.
Yeah.
I would.
She is finishing up her BFA over at IU. She's still here. She's teaching.
I would like
Tuesday
somebody to be
night. But she's not
conscientious
doing
enough to
it.
even just think about it.
She's just doing that.
Yeah, I just haven't seen her in a while. She's doing. How's Laura?
She's good, but you know, every time we bring her back on, she's not like. I don't think she's doing herself. You know, yeah. She's got heart issues. She's good.
Yeah, she's always fun.
Oh, and she has a full-time job.
Yeah.
She had to do that.
Yeah.
I've seen this demo a couple of times.
Very good.
This is the second to last time I get to see this demo.
You never know, it might be the last. Don't kick me.
All the weights on the back leg, just remember that.
Yeah, this is my good knee. One finger. Our printmaking professor is a small coffee cup person. They've got to be small.
Drink an espresso.
No, she just hates it when it gets cold.
Who's this?
Jean Dibble. Do you know Jean?
Yeah.
She's really quirky. I make her, every semester I make her a tiny cup.
That's interesting. It's a good idea. It's a good thinking.
Yeah. I like Jean. She's an hard ass. But she doesn't lie to you.
Which is probably good for your
Yep.
development.
Having a rough
So
week.
there's no sugarcoating.
I gotta run. Thank you. That was great.
Thanks for coming.
Great.
Yep. And then you can take your.
Don't break it, don't break it.
I'm not gonna break it.
Got something for you to do.
Really?
Don't do that.
Why?
That's a no. That's a pregnant no. No. Oh, honest to God, what did I say to you?
What did you do? I can make another one. What do you want me to do?
Actually, they're too large to email. These are huge files.
Already kind of halfway there.
Handle gnomes.
That's great. No, I told him.
Oh my God.
He was halfway there already.
What did you make it?
You got that all on tape.
Gotta do the handle
I
now.
finally got to watch the tapes and they were great.
Oh, good.
Ears.
Make sure you didn't get through there. Got through there. His ears are right by his eyes.
Yeah.
Sometimes that
That's where they
happens.
go. When you're a gnome, man, that's how it is.
He's not a
He
very
also-
happy gnome.